Hey, all right, I'm back. Or back, I'm getting started. I was trying to figure out, first off, why can't I change, that's the volume on my Mac. Why can't I change the volume of my headphones? Bear with me for 1 second. This is going out to my headphones. Cool. My headphones are like really loud, and I don't know how to turn them down. Hmm. Oh, well, I can fix the problem really easily. The only thing I do with my headphones is just listen to some music so you guys don't have to hear my music. But okay, cool. Let's get started. I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to do this morning, and I'm getting sort of a late start. Lately, I've been waking up at like 2 a.m. Is this like a drawer? Oh. It's like the only problem with this hotel streaming thing is that the desk and the chair are like so uncomfortable. All right, so what are we doing? We're going to get back into some Pixelvision UI stuff and see how we can get that going. Uh, I think I want to do the I want to do a button first. So I got there are three UI components that I really want to work on. I'll get this booted up and then I can sort of talk through. While this loads, let me open up the comp stuff and we'll take a look from there. Shared, done things. I need all UI elements. Button states 4. And I think the knob and that stuff is fine. Okay, yeah, that's my goal, which I'm a little bit behind on, was to build out. I wanted to build this tool. So I've been trying to build all the UI I need in order to do that, and I have most of it all skinned up. The only thing that's missing right now is this this knob here, and I'm not entirely sure how I want to build it. But what I think we're gonna do is my idea for this knob. I was getting a tweet. Um, so my idea for this knob is that it's going to be a slider, but like a very small slider, and as you drag it back and forth, maybe maybe like a vertical slider to give it more. So I feel like you want to turn the knob to the right or the left. All right, let's do this. The first thing we need to do is just back up all this crap that I'm building. let's uh, let's just zip this, compress, and I'll just throw this on my desktop. I have like an account, like I just set up like an empty, well, it's not empty, but it's like my own account just for doing streaming stuff. What I wanted to do was I need to go in here and rename all of these, anything that's in green, I need to rename all of these because they're all the scripts that make the UI stuff work. And let's do some other things here. I want to get rid of like the action bar we don't need, button. So we're going to do PVOS button. I was trying to think of like what the naming convention should be. Pixel Vision OS button. Because that's sort of what I call, this is the whole Pixel Vision OS there. So let's see here. Okay, this is my plan for right now. For the beginning of the morning, let's go through and we're going to rename all these classes and try to get it. We're just going to add PVOS to all this stuff because what's happening is that there's a conflict. I'm trying to build a whole new UI library on top of an existing library, and I don't want the names to conflict with each other. Right now, these are just overriding the other ones. So then once we rename this stuff, I can go through and build out the other stuff that I need. Title bar, toggle group. I don't know what that toolbar is. This will also avoid any conflicts. And let's just do this too. Okay. So that's that. Let's go into Atom. Now, if I was to run Pixel Vision 8, this wouldn't work. It'll actually just load up the old. Let's test that theory out. What it'll do by default is it's going to load up the old OS, which is sort of forced in anyways. Whenever you're in the game creator mode, it automatically loads in all of the UI components. So your games can technically use the UI components. Let's see here. Let's go to Games, System Tools, Run. Now some of these should work. Some of them, I'm willing to bet it's just going to... All right, yeah, so some of them work, but stuff like the slider isn't displaying. And that's just because there's like a naming convention to this framework that lets this stuff work. But we're gonna replace it. You can see like the title bar is sort of screwed up and stuff like that. Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, we start with there should be something here called Pixel Vision OS, right? And all we got to do now is just go in and change the names of the scripts that we're loading in. See, I don't think I ever used the toolbar. Where is that toolbar? Yeah, okay, the toolbar is the old bar. We're going to delete this because we don't need that anymore. Move to trash. Now, the next thing we need to do is we just got to go through each one of these components. I don't think they reference each other. They should all be very self-contained except for this one. This core framework is what brings in all the other components. And there, that should be good. So let's look at the input. So Pixel Vision 8, which if you're not familiar with, is my own sort of game framework. It allows me to break up scripts for your code for your game. It's a fantasy console, but it allows you to break up your scripts into partial files, and then it just sort of allows, like you can call load script, which will load another script in. And all it really does is just winds up concatenating it wherever you see load script. All right, so now if we come back into here and we rerun this, all of our UI and everything works just like before. Now, I'd like to get the message bar working, because that should be a low-hanging fruit. Let's get this. The challenge with the message bar is that I think it's just a small font. We just got to get the font in there. So let's see here. It should be, I believe it's medium font. Let's try small. Well, let's just do medium font. I don't think I ever used the small font that CastPixel created. So that should go here. Offsets for, there shouldn't be any other place where we're using system fonts. All right, perfect. So let's save this and rerun this. And now we should get messages at the bottom of the screen, hopefully, when we roll over stuff. Perfect. All right, so what it's not doing, though, is clearing any of this garbage. All right, also the message bars is not at the right place. So let's go here. The text color offset is going to be 15. And it's funny, I was building... What was I building the other day? I was building something the other day that... Damn, I was building something the other day that allowed me to clear this text, and I can't remember what the hell I was working on. I think it was the code for, yeah, it was the code for the game that I built for the Ludum Dare, whatever it was called. Hold on, why is this create message bar so low? All right, there's a few things that we're going to have to do. All right, when we clear a message, we're going to do this. We're going to call let's try to clear this message real quick with data with these draw text arguments. Where is this stuff? Draw text arguments. I gotta I haven't looked at this code in a really long time. Position. All right, first off, this is confusing. CR. Because it's apparently in columns, and so what we need to do is just figure out where this position needs to go. I'm going to just draw a rectangle that'll clear the color. Display tooltip. Where the hell did I have clear? All right, so we would do something like data and the data row multiplied by 8, multiplied by 8. The height is going to be 8. The color is going to be 0, although we should do data clear color ID. Let's put that up here. The clear color will be well, it should be the background color. But let's make it, we'll hard code it. A lot of this UI I'm just going to hard code now at this point, because I left it very flexible as I was trying to redesign. I knew I was going to redesign it, but the clear color is going to be the background color. So that's 5. We'll leave it as 5 for right now. Clear color ID, or 5, and then the maximum characters. What we need to know is the maximum characters multiplied by, where's that clear message? The width is going to be the data maximum characters multiplied by 4. Because each character is 4 wide, and draw mode, we're going to do draw mode If you're just tuning in, I'm building out some more like UI stuff for Pixel Vision 8. So a few more people joined in. So I'm trying to get all the components to build this new screen that Cast Pixels designed, so that you can do controllers and stuff like that. This is the tile map cache. So all right, we'll try drawing this and see if this clears the text at the bottom of the screen. And then we're going to try to reposition the text where it needs to go. Unexpected near mode. Near modes. Where's modes? Oh, here. I didn't. I got to look into why the error messages aren't coming out correctly. They're super cryptic right now. All right. So it's drawing the rect, but you can sort of see it right here. It drew over everything. So I don't know why the rect's not in the right place. So let's see here. When we all right, where are we drawing the text? Display tooltip, display message. Let's see if we can just display message. All right, it's got to be a draw method around here somewhere. Display. The way that I did this in the past was that the font itself actually had a the space was like a filled graphic, and I don't want to do that because I want the fonts to be swappable and reusable. So draw message bar, new draw request, draw data. You know what? I bet you $5 that this is X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. I think originally I started out with column stuff, so that means that here I don't have to, I can just do X, Y, multiply by 4, 8, and leave it at that. All right, let's take a look now. I know why you changed the UI, or the old UI feel old. There we go. Look, it's clearing. It's clearing now. Although that didn't. Why didn't that one clear? The reason I'm changing the UI is because the original stuff, I think it looked good, but there's a lot of stuff that it didn't capture, and there's a lot of tools and stuff we didn't design. And what wound up happening is that Sane 11, who helped me design the original Pixel Vision 8, got really busy with Celeste, and we didn't really get a chance to finish it. So Cast Pixel and I started everything back up again, but the one thing I felt like the original Pixel Vision 8 was missing was character. And like this is what it looks like now, and it works. It's not bad. Like Sane 11 like did a really amazing job, and I sort of filled in all the gaps and stuff. But like this is the new loading screen, and this is what the new UI is gonna look like. And what Pixel Vision 8 was missing was that personality. So what I have now is I have Cast Pixel like went through and we just did everything from like the bottom up. So there's like new logos, new icons, new everything. And I think it's I wanted to really go for the one thing I never got in the original thing was I wanted to get it to be a, I can't think, my brain's like still waking up. I wanted it to just feel like a Mac, like the original Macintosh. I wanted it to be friendly and approachable, and I don't think we really got that in the first design. And it was tough. Like, Pedro's an amazing pixel artist. I love working with him. It's been my dream to work with Mini Boss Studio. And these are like sort of like a passion project sort of thing. What the challenge was is that I was still building all of Pixel Vision 8 while we were designing it. I had no clue what we were doing. All right, so now this clears correctly. What I got to do is I have to go in and just make sure that everything is clearing in the right place, and we got to move that text all the way to the bottom to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the edges. Okay, so one thing that we have to do here is, all right, we can now change this is data, our self message bar. My biggest fear is that this is getting called multiple times. And I want to make sure that all right, we call clear message. That just passes in an empty string, and we're good to go. Clear tooltip. Fine. What I wanted to do is I wanted to see there's a, I made this special thing called like a draw request, and I was trying to figure out where the hell I put that. There we go. So there's a way that the UI framework actually we can actually get rid of this stuff now too. I'm trying to like simplify all this stuff. So string to upper, this, and now if it draws, it doesn't have to pad all of the. It only has to draw the characters it needs to draw. There we go. So that works better. There's all kinds of like little tricks and stuff I did. Oops. Wonder why that screwed up. Message bar Lua 86. Message bar Lua 86. Alright, first off, this needs to go down here, is the problem. Well, actually it needs to go below here, but sometimes the data doesn't get passed in and it doesn't know where the hell to actually get that data from. There we go. So now, so like clicking on these is supposed to show you what a message is. So the message overwrites, like that's a tooltip. And then if you click on it, it overrides the tooltip with a message, and then it should go back to the tooltip. Well, there's nothing to reselect, so here it'll go back to the tooltip. All right. So the one thing I want to do is I want to put this now into this delayed rendering system. So where was that? So what we're going to do is this here. We're going to create a new draw, and we're going to call draw rect. I don't know if this is actually going to work, but let's give this a try, and let's see if we can do this should just be a table. I believe what it does is it just generically calls a method and then passes it all this stuff. So you basically like put this into like a call stack, and then it'll call this draw call. All right, that seems to work. The reason I put that into there is because we are, here's what we're going to do also. We're going to pull this out, and we're going to call this data dot clear draw arguments. Data clear draw args. The reason we defer the drawing is because the UI is it's very intensive to render. So this is like under the hood, Pixel Vision 8 acts basically like a Nintendo. Albeit a very modern Nintendo, but it has like a lot of the rendering limitations that you'd see in a Nintendo. So try and imagine drawing like complex UI in a Nintendo. So a lot of the things I do is like I defer the drawing to the end of a frame. I wait for, like, I use sprites in places, like, so like the buttons are actually, like when you look at these buttons, if you're not over a button, they're all in the background. They're background tiles. And then as soon as you roll over one, it only shows sprites around that. And then this text stuff is just rendering, that's rendering to the display buffer. So there's some things you can't really do on a Nintendo that I'm doing. But all right, so this should work fine. And we should be good to go. All right, so now the new message bar works. The one thing I was just really confused about is like, why is the message bar create message bar 207? Ah, I know why the message bar is so high. That's because originally there was a set of like action bars at the bottom, so we wanted to be at 8232. 8232. That'll put it right at the bottom of the screen. All right, we need to subtract 8. 224. That's weird. Why don't we do this? And it doesn't have to be on the grid itself. And now it'll be right above there. But let me see if that's, yeah, okay, so that's what she did. She aligned the text to this top part here. So what we want to make sure is at the bottom there's like 3 pixels above the bottom. So let's take I'm like super, when a designer gives me something, I'm super OCD about making sure that it's pixel perfect to the comps. So we'll take a screenshot, we'll go in, and we'll just move things around to make sure we get, so there, it's 3 pixels from the bottom, and her comp is 3 pixels from the bottom, and we are 8 pixels from the left. So I think we just need to move this over 1. Yeah. There's some stuff, like the font itself isn't directly flush on the left hand or the bottom. Like if I open up the font, you'll sort of see why I have to offset it. So there's a small font. No, it's not even the small font. It's the medium font here. If we look here, and you look at a character, like this character, like right here, and I'll zoom in. We can look at any of them, honestly, but here's D, right? And if you look at the way that this character D is set up, it's 1 pixel from the left and 1 pixel from the bottom, and that's because we have to take into account like look at this. If you look at this Q, the Q sits on the bottom of the sprite because it has that dangly part. Same thing with like J's and stuff like that, right? And then on the left-hand side, you don't want things, I can't remember why I moved it all over why they're all over to the left. By one, I think there were certain characters that just didn't make sense there. I could probably, I don't know, maybe I should fix that. If I moved all this, hold on a second. If I moved all these over by one. All right, maybe we should just do that. I feel like there was like one font where let me, before I do something stupid, let's go and take a look, because here it is. I think it was this font I couldn't move over to the left by one because the what winds up happening is that you lose, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could shift over. There's two characters, this slash and this comma got cut off. So I was trying to keep all the fonts consistent, so they're all, I guess, aligned to the left. I don't know. I can go through and fix that later. That's not like the end of the world. I'll talk to CastPixel about that. I think that's the only font that does it, though. All right, cool. So that looks good. All right, so now we have the message bar back in. All right, so this looks good. Our buttons work. We're getting messages, and cool. All right, so now the next thing I wanted to do is we got rid of the toolbar. I don't need the toolbar anymore. So CastPixel is listening. That sounds so ominous. Hi, Christina. We have the artist in the house. It's all, she did such an amazing job. Look at how great this stuff looks. Hey, Christina, what are your thoughts on this? I was going to I was trying to get all the fonts to be sort of consistent in the template. See, this is so much easier to have you on the stream. I should just call you up on Skype. That'd make it a little better. So like, okay, like in this font here, all of the characters have a 1 pixel border on the left. So I can move them, Photoshop. I can move them over 1 and they'll be aligned correctly. But when I got to this large font, because I'm using our font template, it works either way. You can push it on the left, it's fine. I guess, so in that case, what I would do is just move this over, and then this whole thing. It isn't your font. Okay. Well, what I was trying to avoid was that if I needed to regenerate it, I could just do it directly in the thing. But that's fine. I'll move everything over to the left. Oh, yes. And then there's like ones like this. I got to go through and make sure. Whoops. I got to go make sure that all this stuff is correct. Like there were some of them that just didn't sit right. Yeah, so like this is what I wanted to avoid. This is annoying. But I think all the fonts should align to the left. Okay, let's go through the beginning. Like some of these I have to, when I look at the text, I'll have to realign them because it has to be monospace. But I'm just trying to make sure is that they're all within the grid correctly. See, like this is where I was getting, like I feel like this guy needs to be over here. My 3 fonts are rigorously tested, but if they have an issue, just holler. So wait, is this font not yours though? You know, your fonts are beautiful. That's not the problem. Um, the problem is the way my text engine requires things to be laid out. Ah, so then, whose font are we using? Oops. I haven't think I can't remember where we even use this font. I think this is for the text editor, right? Uh, oh, it's Hussein's font. There you go. I was worried for a second we need to get permission to use it, but I know Pedro he'll give me permission. Okay, I'm gonna save this. Sure, why not? All right, we're gonna align all the fonts to the left, and we're gonna make our life a little bit easier. So, if I remember correctly, this small font, which is yours for the text area, yes, and I've already switched to the bold monospace. Yeah, I know. Well, I haven't really gone back and like tested it in action. All right, so this one works fine. This one works fine. And now I just need to do the bold. There was something that I did need to, there was something I noticed, Christina, on the comp, when I was looking at the setting tools. Where did I see? Do we have a reference for labels like this, where you have drop shadow? Because I believe that's the tiny font, right? That's the smallest font. Oh, my stomach's growling. I was gonna go take a break and eat, but then Christina came into the chat, and I've yet to collaborate with her directly on a Twitch stream. I think. All right, so this is the tiny font. I think I'm gonna need a one with shadows, so I can do labels like that. Get a break. I'll help later. Okay. Yeah, I'm less concerned about that because all the other labels and stuff, I did. It's all pretty clever the way that this works, if I do say so myself. Everything is all part of the background for the most part. So like, if we look at the tile map, here, let's see. Where did I do? Here's the tile map for this demo, and I've just built as much as I could into the background itself, and then the only thing or the overlays are going to be the sprites, or like UI buttons that get drawn automatically. Anyways, all right, cool. So let me go finish fixing these fonts real quick. I'm not fixing them, just realigning them. All right, I'm going to get rid of this. We'll get rid of the system font in a few minutes. So the small font is now aligned to the left. I think that large bold is the other one I need to do. Large bold. So, Christina, this is your font too, right? I love this font. All right, so, and look, she's so right. That one was rigorously tested. So wait, so are we not using, okay, so then fine. Are we not using the large font at all? We don't use this anywhere? Because if that's the case, then I might just pull it out altogether. Done. All right, large font's gone. Goodbye. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this to just large. I'm trying to keep it simple where you have like large, medium, and small, unless you have a better naming convention. And let's get rid of system font. Move to trash. And all right, let's go back in and fix all the stuff that I just broke now. So the input area. Because what I'm gonna probably do in the framework is get rid of, probably gonna get rid of passing in the font name. Let's do large. Replace all. My stomach is growling so bad. I have to take a break soon. I have like a little. I mean, it's 5 a.m. so there really isn't much. I'm sure I could find a 24-hour place to eat here in California, but I'm not going to go out. We're streaming until I have to get ready for work. Although I would like to get on the treadmill for a little bit, so we'll figure that out. All right. What I need to find is. Let's do this. Let's look for large bold across the entire project. Because now if I rerun this, it's probably going to break. Oh, hey, look at that. Wow. It's so cool when things like work. Like I'm constantly surprised. Hey, good luck. Watch this stream, yeah. Gonna go cook lunch. Yeah, Christina, it looks amazing. It's so good. The best part is just being able to drag it and seeing the little hand cursor like grab the slider. So yeah, you did a great job. I'm super impressed with this, and I'm gonna keep working on this. I'm about to go do the knob, so you go eat, and I will see you later. All right, so let me go. I'm gonna take a quick 5 minute. Oh, actually, as soon as this Pomodoro's done, I'm gonna take a quick 5 minute break. All right, and then the next thing we need to do is just come up with some test. I'll have to do the, let's do this. We're going to take all of the slider code. We're going to copy this, create a new file, and we're going to call this Pixel Vision OS knob. And we'll paste this in here, and we're going to change the word slider to knob. And let's do match case. We'll do a quick litmus test to make sure that, all right, create knob. All right, perfect. So let's replace all in this file, and then that's going to be the foundation for the knob, which is this sort of like rotational dial. Like, you have to see how, I think Christina might have left, but you have to see how cool this thing is. She created, I think the thing I'm the most excited about building, and I'm not even like that into music stuff, is our new sound tool. It looks so awesome. Like, that's going to be the sound effects generator for Pixel Vision 8, and all it is knobs. So it shouldn't be terribly hard to actually build something for. Oh, I guess that was my break. All right, I'm going to take a quick 5 minute break, and then I just need to eat something before I like get hangry. So what is it? 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 8. So we'll do 8:20 a.m. And I don't know why I keep switching over to Eastern time. We should probably just keep this. I think this was like really depressing when I started at like 4 a.m. So we'll make this like 5:20 a.m. PST. And I will be back shortly. I would say a super productive morning. We got some code in. We had a guest appearance from the creative director of Pixel Vision 8. I'm doing business deals in Europe over email for work. Just a lot of stuff going on. All right, let's close out of that and let's get rid of this large font. We don't use it anymore. So now we have large, medium, and small, which is perfect. That simplifies a lot of things. I want to put my music back on. All right, so I'm gonna put a knob right there. Every time I say the word knob, it's like it's such a an immature kid. So I had to drink. I can't easily mute this little microphone. Sort of sucks. All right, so I'm noticing some glitches in the text, and I got to take a look at what's going on here. Where's the large bold font? There's some characters that are out of place. All right, let's zoom in and just. So moving this over didn't work exactly as planned. Hopefully Cast Pixel's gone, so she didn't hear that. I'll fix these. There's just a few that might just be, excuse me. Not. A few of them might just be bleeding over, which is fine. We can fix that. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to. It's a lot of work went into this. I think Cast Pixel and I make this stuff look really easy, but the reality is that we've been working on these redesigns for months now, and I wouldn't even start building any of it until we had pretty much all the screens designed. I'm gonna do some testing just to make sure these things are all in the right place. But let's see. All right, so save that and reload. Oops. Reload the game. Cool. All right, the text looks cleaner now. So, all right, let's see if we can add a knob over here. I don't. All UI elements. Heh, the knobs aren't even in there. All right, I got to figure out where she put this thing. There we go. I love this song. Just want to make it a little louder. It's called Cold Love by Rainbow Kitten Surprise. It's got such a good, the lyrics have such a really good melody to it. I don't know. Anyways, I don't torture you guys with the really crappy music I listen to. It's just I like to sing, and I'm the worst. I'm terrible at singing. Poor Mrs. F has to deal with me singing when I'm at home. I'm in my office just singing at the top of my lungs like an idiot. So I believe there's a mute button somewhere around here. All right, so I think let's just see where this guy goes. Yeah, he goes here. The problem is I feel like this needs. I feel like these need more space. But you know what, let's just try Because the problem is like when you slide it, I'm gonna have to fix this bug. That's really what it's gonna come down to. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's come here. I was just trying to think in my head of like how this gets disabled. And if wherever there's a knob, I should probably put the, I think that's the way that we're going to build the knob out. Wherever the knob is disabled, so let's do, we have to pull back up the sound tool. If the knob is disabled, we just do the, we just do the background. It's going to be something like this, because then what happens is that the is that not centered correctly? Please don't make me have to redo all those knobs. Shoot. Ah. Thank God. I don't doubt her, but that border made it look really weird. I was hoping that they're on the right place. Okay, cool. All right. So that's fine. So this is what the knob looks like when it's disabled. And then what we're going to do is... I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do. I have to think through this. Let's do this. We're going to leave it like this for right now. And let's save this as the tile map, replace, and we need to put this into the sprites. Then once we have these on the sprites, all we really need to do is I'm going to build a table for all of these angles. Luckily, Pixel Vision 8 like optimizes all this stuff. So if I, first off, I need to get out of this and go back into the sprite editor. And you'll see here on page 2, all of those different rotation angles have been optimized into just a few sprites. So we're good to go here. All right, so that's that, and so this was the input text. This is a regular large font. And then this is the medium font, and that's a small font. And then those are all the fonts. What I'm trying to do is get it to where if you're building UI, all of all the core stuff is as compacted and optimized as possible. So we might go back in for the pagination and turn those into palletized buttons, but I'm not there yet. So there's a lot of things we could do to sort of clean these things up. All right, so now let's figure out how we can build out this knob thing. So, all right, what we need to do is in the editor UI, knob. All right, so that brings in the knob. This is all the core UI stuff. I shouldn't have to touch anything in here. Now, where do we have our slider? All right, so we're going to create a new knob data, and we're going to create a knob. And we're going to put the knob at 208.104. 208.104. But there's a trick to this guy. What we're going to need to do is, right now, it's going to be 16 by 16. We'll just do the V slider handle for right now. And let's just see if this shows up. Well, the other thing that we need to do is get it to where knob. And where's the other thing where we have wherever we update this guy, we need to also make sure that we update the knob too. Knob. So that'll disable it. And then there's one other place where we just need to update it. So now this should act just like it should act just like the slider, and that's sort of the goal. What we're going to do is we're going to change all the rendering logic internally, but it should act exactly like a slider. So let's rebuild the sprite database. All right, code Lua 82. Attempt to call a nil value. Line 82. Create knob. So I don't know if I saved this. Knob. Oh, you know what it is? I don't think I saved this. Yeah, I did. Where? All right, yeah, it needs to be inside of here. Come on. Inside of the system tool. There we go. All right, so now if we reload this, it should be able to find the script correctly. And so what we're doing is, it looks a little weird right now, right? There's just not a lot of room. All right, we're gonna have to get a little bit more granular with this, and I want to change it to, it should be horizontal. Let's see if that helps at all. I think the problem is that this slider is wider than the actual. We have to make the slider's width like 0, so this should be. True. So that'll make it horizontal. And oh, didn't like that. Index is outside the bounds of the array. All right, let's let's do this. Let's go into the knob class. I'm going to close out all this other stuff for right now. And let's take a look at how the knob actually works. So one of the things that the knob, I guess the knob has rollover states. I'm just going to message Christina. All right, so what we're going to do here is we got to go through and we got to simplify how this thing is constructed. So let's get rid of these two things. And while we're at it, let's get rid of this flag. I got to go through and I got to clean up all the UI components anyways and get rid of some of these older paradigms. Well, I don't know, maybe the flag gets saved. I don't know. We'll save that for right now. So all we're going to do for this is that we need the flag, the rect, the sprite name, and the tooltip. So we can get rid of this, right? And we need to build a quick table here that will help us with the different angles of where the knob is. So I will open back up the SB sprites. And what we're looking for are these things here. I just need a reference to all the so okay, when we create a knob, what we're going to do is data data dot rotation. So this is actually like a pretty old school trick that games used to do back in the day. It used to be like really hard to calculate all the math and everything you needed in order to do like angles and more complicated stuff, especially stuff with like square roots. So what these old games wound up doing was they used to pre-calculate everything ahead of time. And we're starting to do that a little bit here as well. We have angles drawn for each of the different things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a table with all of the positions, and then we're going to use that as a lookup. And the idea is that if you think of the knob as a slider, there's going to be a range between 0 and 1, and that's going to give you a percentage, right? And we're going to use that percentage to figure out whatever percent it's in relates to a particular index of this table or array that I'm building right now. So here, we're just going to, I have like one of those new MacBook Pros with the touch bar, and I constantly am hitting it and hitting buttons at the top. It drives me nuts. All right, so these are going to be all of our angles. And what we're going to do is we'll use this table to find the right sprite. And I want to try to get this to be, we're going to get this to at least draw correctly, then we'll start figuring out how to fix all of the sliding logic inside of it. It's sort of the way that I usually work. Like I have a good idea of how something's going to work, I like map it out in my head, and then I just wind up doing a lot of experimenting, but I'll do step by step. So the easiest thing is like to make this look like it works, and then we can go and map out the functionality we need to build. All right, the next thing we need to do is I want to, in this selection, remove the word knob and just replace it with a quote. Then the last thing we're going to do is, I just want this to be an array of strings, not actual numbers, because we're going to concatenate it with the name of the sprite that you pass in. And what I'm hoping I can do is, before I get the mouse interaction working, since this is actually tied to other sliders and it's tied to the volume itself, we're just going to get it to work with those sliders first, and then I'll do its own mouse interaction. So as you can see here, let's rotate, like refresh this. Pixel Vision blew at 19. Oh, here's why, because I put this too high up. We haven't created the data yet. So this is the rotation we'll keep track of. And if we fix this, what should wind up happening is, as we move this, you'll see that the knob is, well, what is the handle for the knob is moving up and down. So now the next step is, let's make this, I want to hard code this to being vertical. And I want to pull out all the stuff, the difference here. So data size, data horizontal. So what's going to happen is that if this is horizontal, we're going to use the width. So I'm pulling out, I'm going to try to pull out all of the stuff that the original slider had. Well, you know what? Maybe let's, you know what, before we get too far, let's actually make this let's make this either horizontal or vertical, and then we can play around and see which one works better to do for testing. All right, so what I wanted to make sure is that now this should slide back and forth within that area, or not. All right, let's get rid of this. We'll deal with that later. Okay. I don't think I've ever built like a UI element like this before. Like in my head, it seems pretty clear. Okay. So the real trick now is we are going to change this to knob, right? Our Lewis sprites is knob whatever. And we are going to take the I don't think we need any of this anymore. I think the sprite data, now what I can't remember is if we save the sprite name, so I need to look into the core UI. So where is editor UI? All right, we do save the sprite name. Perfect. All right, so what I want to do down here at draw, this should be if invalid, blah, 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 sprite data. All right, so what we're going to do for the sprite data is we're going to do data.sprite name plus data.rotation. And let's do 1. And let's see if we can just get the knob to render correctly. Yeah, 22. Attempt to index a nil value. I want to get rid of all this stuff. There's like a lot of little stuff here. Handle center, data handle size equals 1. And that might actually fix some of the sliding problems we were having earlier. All right, well, it's not drawing anything, so that's not good. But look, now we fixed the rotation, or we fixed it so now I can, within this area, I can drag this guy, right? So that's part of the problem is fixed. Now we got to figure out why it's not. Oh, I know why. Because we need to do this. We need to look for the global name for the sprite data. So that would be this. And what we should do is remove the X and Y offsets, which will get that to not move and rotate. All right, or not. Wonder why that's not working. Let's do, if the slider has focus, show the overstate. Let's do this. There's like a little bit of like boilerplate code that I have in this that I can't remember. Wait, you know what? Let me add the X and Y back in. Because maybe that's affecting it too. No. Sprite name data rotation 1. Sprite draw arguments equals nil. Yeah, okay, here we go. It's the sprite draw arguments equals nil. What we want to do is hey, welcome to the stream. Bean Dream. All right, we're going to take this default value and make that the default. All right, so we'll do something like this. So sprite data is going to equal this. And now, if sprite data doesn't equal nil, we're going to create the drawing arguments, which we need in order to actually render it. There's this whole like deferred drawing system inside of Pixel Vision 8's UI framework, and the idea is that I keep a lot of models around, like data objects that represent the draw calls, and at the end of the frame when we're about to render, the UI framework goes through and loops and renders basically from this render stack, just so that you're not like rendering what you want to be doing is in between the frames. I could defer the rendering to like slow it down so that the UI updates every other frame or something, so that it's not bogging down the rendering system. Hey, I was just working on setting up the basics of my game. I'm going to be using Phaser 3. A bit less advanced than what you're doing. Actually, I think Phaser 3 is a pretty advanced framework. It's actually, Phaser is pretty good. Yeah, what I'm doing right now, like building stuff from scratch, is pretty damn hard. Sprite data, draw arguments 1, sprite data. All right, I think what was just missing was that it didn't set up that draw argument. There we go. All right, so now it's moving the slider. That's fine. We're going to fix that in a second. All right, here's the fun part of the math. First off, let's do this. Where we set up the draw arguments are set for 0, 0. We're going to set these to rect.x, rect.y. Although I think inside of this, data.rect, yeah, here's what we're going to do. Let's data.rect x and data.rect y. And now we can come back down here and we can remove these two things that update the x and y position, because that no longer affects this. So all right, so there's no overstate right now, so that's one problem that we have. And I messaged Christina to see if, I think she's making lunch, so let's try not to bother. I was trying to message her to see what we do for this situation. So what I'm going to do right now is, we're going to do something like this. If this is in focus equals true, what we're going to do is we're going to change the color offset if it's in focus, we're going to change the color offset to 4. If not, we'll leave it at 0. This will just, it's going to like mess up the way that it looks, but it'll give us at least a rollover, or not. Oh wait, we need to get rid of this too. All right. It's funny. I gave Christina so much shit over building these knobs. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to build it. The framework can't handle it. It's too complicated. And I'll have this done in like a little while. Okay, cool. So that is that. What I want to do now is we're going to calculate where we need to be in this position. So what we are doing here is we're going to replace this here with something like this. Okay, so calculate rotation. The rotation ID is going to be, what I can't remember is that the value percent. All right, so let's do this. Let's do data.value, and we're going to print out, I can't remember how I did this internally, data.value. I need writer open because it's outputting to writer. All right, let's see. All right, so it's at 0. All right, perfect. It's a percentage, or it's a fractional percentage. So what that means is, let me exit out of this so it's not just drawing all that into the background. We're going to multiply this by the data rotation, the total frames of the data rotation, right? And then we're going to do math.floor. we're going to pass the rotation ID into this. What we just want to make sure is that if rotation ID is less than 0, then end. Else, if rotation ID is greater than data.rotation, then we just want to make sure that this stays within range. Now we don't need to worry about this. And you guys ready for the money shot? Oh, it failed. OS knob Lua 221. Print. How did it print out 0? I literally, did I not just fix? Oh, here we go. If it's less than or equal to 0. So how about this? If it's less than 1, Lua's arrays are tables, or table arrays, whatever how they call them, are 0 based, and they're such a pain in the ass to deal with. There we go. Come on. How cool is that? Bam! I'm going to take a video real quick for Christina. She's going to be so happy to see that. All right, so let me send this to Christina. Christina is Cast Pixel, by the way, on Twitter. All right, so that's cool. So the real question is, do we want this to be? I believe this should be horizontal. Man, look at that. So good. And we can do a whole bunch of stuff to like limit the angles too. So I can't believe how easy that was. I must, for like a straight week, I gave her like shit. Like, we can't build this. I don't want to do it. It's too hard. It's going to require like way too much math. And then like, I like had this moment where I'm like, it like clicked in my head and I'm like, okay, I know how to do it. Don't worry about it. We can do it. And it literally makes, someone had asked earlier in the stream this morning, like, why I'm redesigning Pixel Vision 8. And the goal is, like, I want this to be, like, I'm never going to, like, have a better fantasy game console than, like, Pico 8, which is, like, the king of fantasy game consoles. That's never been my goal. What I want is, I eat my own words all the time. Like, you guys don't get to see all the chat. I have all the chat coming in from, like, I guess Bean Dream is watching on YouTube instead of Twitch, so he's making some comments. I'm just responding to him. But yeah, I eat my own words all the time. Cash Pixel's like one of the best pixel artists I've ever worked with, and I love collaborating with her. But she's super smart, and she pushes me like way out of my comfort zone of what I want to program, and it's worth it. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this thing horizontal. No, you can stay on YouTube, you can stay on Twitch, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. All right, if horizontal equals true. All right, let's make this true, and let's see if this will just let me rotate this thing horizontally, where it seems to make more sense. Yeah, there we go. I was just kind of getting a sense for like, all right, so that's the cool thing right here. Basically, because of the way that the system works, is that you can. So that's broken. I do have to fix. I have to fix some of that stuff, but you can drag this sort of over here. I have a feeling that if we had like multiple ones of these, it would break. So what I really need to figure out is once the knob is like right now it's actually drawing out sprites, and it shouldn't do that. All right, we can optimize later. I'll get to that when I like build out. What I wanted to make sure is that, right, so now we can rotate this thing horizontally. There, you'll get sort of a rollover state. I just feel like I feel like this bottom area isn't, it's like not high enough. So I think it's really 24 by 24. It's like a pretty big component, all things considered. There we go. So much better. So you can sort of see the palette shifting that's going on, and I can create. Yeah, now you're on Twitch. There you go. How did you find the YouTube channel? Is that just because you follow me on YouTube or something? I don't ever promote the YouTube. I'm also on like Bleem or whatever, Mix or whatever Microsoft's streaming services, which I don't think anyone ever uses. Maybe some people do. I don't know. All right, so that slider works. All right, what else was I doing? Oh yeah, what I want to do in the knob is I want to remove the code that we don't need. There's like some additional code where it looks to see if things are true, and we can just see if it's actually horizontal. We can get rid of all this stuff now. Like the other, like when it's a slider, it needs to be able to understand whether it's vertical or horizontal, and I switch out properties. I no longer have to do that now. So like something like this can now just become .x. Right, let's just make sure that that works. We'll do this in baby steps. Oh, you look for Lunadari 42 on YouTube. Cool. 129. Prop. Save the new position. I don't even think we need to save this. Data prop. I guess we do. Alright, this is like not working out the way I wanted it to. So I do want to optimize this before I move on. I'd rather like not get through all my stuff this morning to make sure that this it's like somehow I just broke something. Okay, cool. Let's try this again now. All right, so the size is rect W. So where else do we look for? So I feel like I can do, make sure the position's in range, right? Dot X. I feel like all these I can replace. Ugh, you know what I should get for dinner tonight? In-N-Out burger. I've been trying to eat healthy, but like tonight's gonna be like one of those nights where like I'm literally gonna get out of, I think my last meeting of the day is like 2 o'clock, and I'm like walk out of the office at like 2 o'clock. I think Ludum starts at 3, and I just want like the fastest meal I could possibly have. It's not going to be like the shitty stuff in the hotel, and then just like get down to business for Ludum. All right, so this is working. Where else was I looking for the direction? Mouse position X, X. I'm changing too many things. This is going to bite me in the ass, but let's just give it a try. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll change like a whole bunch of stuff, and then I'll like when I get an error, I'll just like undo back until I get to a place where I'm happy. All right, cool. Look, it works. All right. What I'd love to figure out, and this might be too much scope, instead of 10 hours. Yeah, it starts in 10 hours. But it's all good. I was trying to get my game engine. What I've been doing for the past week in prep for Ludum was just make sure my game engine is working correctly. There's a few little bugs, but I think I've worked out most of the bugs. So Pixelvision 8 is stable. There is a build. So if you went to the website and you either bought a copy of it or signed up for the Fantasy Game Console Club, you can build a game with it. The documentation is a little lacking, and clearly I'm much better. Like I have to document all these like little tricks and stuff I know. But that being said, the build that I'm using right now is a special build that was ported over to Mono Game from Unity. And if the mouse isn't on the slider, make sure its position is set correctly. So I don't think we even need to do this anymore. This might just be redundant. The only thing, it's not that complicated. The only thing that's complicated right now is the fact that I'm building UI components. But once I build them, if you wanted to use any of these UI components, they're pretty easy. Like to use this slider in your own game, as long as you have the artwork, all you need to do is just say editor, create new knob, give it a callback, and it'll work. There's a lot of stuff in here that, well, if you watch my stream over the weekend, I'm going to build a Pixelvision 8 game. I haven't decided if I'm going to use the theme, though. So, all right, so that's working good. Was there anything else that we needed to test horizontal to make sure we don't need anymore? All right, so I'm going to pull out all the crap that we don't need anymore. It's funny, I think that I think I just figured out how to fix one of the bugs that I had in the slider. Let me do this. Where is this horizontal slider? Let's disable this horizontal slider real quick. felt like one of these. I felt like one of these things when it was when the slider was disabled, it didn't render correctly. I guess I did fix that. Okay, cool. Never mind. I don't need to worry about that. Cool. The only thing is that we don't have a. I don't have a disabled thing for the knob yet. All right, let's add this to our tasks. Knob roll over states knob disabled state. All right, so that's that. What else do we want to do here? Oh, let me re-enable that. I'm feeling pretty good about this guy. Yeah, that's cool. That was a fun little component to build. Let's see what the hell is going on with the rolling over other elements. Yeah, there's like two things we could do here. Well, like what should happen is that when this hand cursor is down, we shouldn't change the mouse or interact with other slidey things. Like you can see that the I fixed it for buttons, right? Because you should be able to just like drag anywhere and not like tweak this crap. So I think there's a problem in the slider itself where if something comes into it, it should look to see if the mouse is down and what the focus is on it. Now I can't remember how the hell I did this with the, let's see, override in focus and self collision manager mouse down. So override focus. Let me set this to false real quick and just see what happens on the. All right. There's something I want to do here real quick and try first. One of the problems I have with Lua is that I can't, I don't have like, there's no like classes, so it's really hard to have code, like to share code between stuff. So what I was thinking of doing was the knob, the knob and the slider actually are the same, like update logic. Like I don't think I changed anything in here. I did optimize this, but you know what, let's do this. Let's get rid of this, and what we're going to call instead is I've done this in other ones. Where's the input field? Like the input field basically calls self draw input area. So this is going to call self update slider and pass in data. Let's see if the knob still works this way. Because what I could do is that this way I can fix the sliding logic. Nope. Expected end of near. Self. I see what the hell happened here. I think all of this is still part of the update. All right, cool. So the slider still technically works. The problem is that it's not getting any of that update stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to change knob. I'm gonna look into doing something here where I'm gonna break out the update draw logic or something. Handle sprites. This isn't gonna work. It shares a lot of logic, but there's a whole like draw. Like there's a whole thing in the update that goes and calculates what the next sprite should be. And I'll have to go sit down and really rethink that. But what we can do is let's look into the collision manager and figure out, because the slider is the only one that does this. So all I need to do is make sure that when this comes in, let's see if we can just test it with this first. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. Because when this button's down, it shouldn't get. All right, there's two bugs I want to fix. I'm just trying to like think through what I need to do. The first thing we want to do is let's look at why dragging over a slider activates it, because the button doesn't do that. And the answer to that might actually be in the button itself. So update size from cache, update button. So if the button is enabled, and data in focus. Now, I don't remember if I have. Let's do this. Let's look at the knob and let's look for, yeah, I do have data in focus. So override. If this is enabled, true. What I want to see is print data.name in focus. And let's just see what the in focus state is of the knob when we roll over it. So right now it's in focus is false, in focus is true. So that shouldn't have focus right now. And let's take a look at why that wound up getting focus. Because if I disable this and I go into our button, and we look at our button, see whether our button is in focus, I think if one button rolls over another, it wouldn't trigger that. No, well, I can't see what the hell it's outputting. Problem is that there's a lot of toggle button UI. Problem is that there's a lot of buttons on the screen, so doing that just makes everything. All right, so that's not a good approach. Um, Okay, so what we're going to do, how the hell do I even want to figure this out? If self collision manager mouse down is true, so the thing that's tough about this is that I think the difference between this and a button is that the 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 slider always needs the mouse to be down in order to be working. But what we need to find out is that I believe inside of the collision manager, current focus somewhere around here. Let's do this in the. I believe it is in the editor UI. I haven't like this. I wrote this code like over a year ago, and haven't like looked through most of it. I'm shocked that it held up so well through the reskinning. I swore that. So we set focus. Self in focus UI. All right, so what I want to do is let's look at this. Print in focus self in focus UI dot name. This should give us the name of anything that's in focus right now in the collision manager. Or 108, attempt indexing nil value, 108. Let's just see if we can get away with this. So that gives me the table. All right, but we can do, but that's actually good because look, we can see table 0542AF8. Okay, so what I need to do is I just want not to be writing in the background. We're just going to make sure that when we roll into this with the mouse down, if this all of a sudden this gets switched to in focus is true. So I have a feeling, first off, when we set something to in focus, and return. So this is the data. Now, what I gotta remember is when I create an object, I swore I gave it a unique name. Init, update, draw, create data. Yeah, data.name. All right, so when we change the focus, we change its name. So let's look through that and see. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that if we go to, that the mouse is down and we go to change focus, oops, editor, Lua, attempt index and nil value. Why does that table not have... I bet you it has something to do with this. Then we do something like this. If focus is true, or none. I think that's where it's getting hung up right now, is that it's trying to get the property of a table that doesn't exist. Uh, 237. Or I don't, or I'm not actually using the right variable name. All right, so there's none. So interesting, it's not. Why is it set to none? This should definitely. This should always have a value. At least in that part, it should always have a value, because it's only being set when it gets something in focus. Temp to an index, no, nope. So confused. Why is this not saving the, like, why? I wish I had like a proper debug. All right, so that's slider. That's input field. That's button. That's knob. All right, so that's what we're looking for right here. We can't set the focus, so if the data object's in focus true, here's the problem. I'm an idiot. Self-focus UI. There's two things. There's a in focus, which is the flag, whether it's actually something is actually in focus, but that's based on the actual component. The component itself knows that it's in focus. Then the collision system itself keeps an in focus ID, which is a reference to the data for that component. And now this should actually output correctly. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that if a component, if the mouse is down when we roll over a new component, all right, so watch. So now, what we're going to do is or data.name. All right, we'll do it this way. If in focus is true, we just ignore it. Now, if what was it? It was self collision mouse self collision manager dot mouse down is true, and self in focus name does not equal data dot name turn. So what we're now looking for is that if the mouse is down and it's down and it's in focus with another item, we can't give it focus until the mouse is up again. So let's see if that fixes it. Ugh, that'd be great if it fixed this problem. Nine. What the hell? Let's just trace everything and see what the hell's going on. Doesn't like that idea, huh? Editor UI 225. All right, so I think we need to do it this way. And, oops. Trying to message Catch Pixel. I'm trying to have a side conversation with Catch Pixel and stuff. All right, so what was I doing? All right, so what I need to figure out is, right, if the mouse is down and self in focus does not equal null, or nil in Lua, then what we need to do is one last test, which is if self in focus name and data.name, then end, return. That'll exit us out of this method. Because there's a problem like Lua, like I can't test for something, I can't test that that exists. Like in C#, you could do something like this, and then do like name, and then like that would tell it that like, okay, if that's not null, then don't, just ignore it. But Lua is not that smart. All right, let's try this again. So what I was trying to do is I have the mouse down now, and I roll over. I think what it, all right, so this is, I want to do a test real quick. I want to make sure that, let's just like not set this thing to focus. All right, so the slider is still, all right, all these buttons are working. Okay, perfect. All right, so this slider is now not working. The other stuff is still checking for its focus. So, okay, all right, the reason I was doing that is this. I think there's a lot of hacks that I have in the UI framework, and what I want to make sure is that the, nope, son of a, that's why. Wait, no. If this data is in focus, we ignore it. I need to figure out if there's anywhere else that I set this in focus. So let's look at this knob for a second here. In focus. I had this like override focus thing because you know what? There's another hack that I have in here that keeps it where if you drag out of the area, the thing still stays depressed, like that. All right, let's see now here for a second. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Which says like a lot about almost everything I do. But this one's like really bothering me. Because update button, if it's in focus, what we need to make sure is that the editor only puts something in focus. All right, let's do this. We're going to start from the ground up real quick. I don't really know how long I want to be doing this for, so we'll undo a few things in a minute, but I'm probably going to end in about like, we'll end after this next Pomodoro. This, what is it, almost 6:40? It gives me like 25 minutes. I can hit the treadmill, have breakfast, and get into the office at a decent time so I can get out early enough to start Ludum Dare. All right, so all right. What we're going to do is I need to make sure that I want to make sure that the slider doesn't work at all. Because right now what's happening is that the focus stuff is taking over, and what we're noticing is that, all right, the first thing that's happening is that if this thing doesn't, let me see this real quick. Sorry, I'm starting to remember a little bit of how this is working. In focus is going to change the value of whether it shows the overstate or not. Right, so there we go. So what I wanted to see was, now if I roll over, we get that focus. Now let's take this out here, which basically makes sure that we only set the in focus if it's actually in focus. Okay, perfect, we're there. All we got to do now is make sure that if we're not in focus, we don't capture the rotation. Because technically, this no longer gets focus, this doesn't get focus. Text inputs is a little bit different, I need to work on that next. But all right, so now we're not getting that highlight rollover, whereas here I'm getting the highlight rollover. All right, so this is, okay, so all the slider needs to do now is, let's take a look at the slider. We'll start with the knob. Update knob, data enabled. All right, so if this is enabled true, Cast Pixel is sending me updates for the button stuff, but I don't have that on this computer, so I'll do that later. Okay, so let's focus. So what we're going to do is, we want to make sure that let's set this in focus, self in focus. That's on me for putting like the same variable names, like very similar variable names. All right, so what should happen now is in focus, wait, hold on a second. We got a conflict. Where's the input? All right, let's stop this. We don't need to know this anymore. Unless, what we could do is, no, let's just do this. All right, we're looking for the actual components in focus flag. So this should be self in focus, and this should be if self in focus is true, then we'll print it out, because I don't need it spamming the console. So now I'll come back here. Let's go to writer. So I don't know why that's not getting its in focus. If self in focus and collision manager is true. Here we go. Now this sets the focus to data. Here's why. It's data in focus. Oh my god, it's so confusing. Scope in Lua is just a real mess. Alright, so now, there, it's in focus. So let's clear the buffer. And now if I hold down this and I come over here, it's not in focus. Now, here's the other thing. Now we're not in focus anymore either because it rolled out. And that's what we needed to figure out. The other thing is that if this is not in focus, but the self dot in focus ID dot name equals data.name, then it's in focus. So confusing. Oops, doesn't like that either. And that's because this doesn't equal nil. Gotta test that out first. Man. Self in focus ID. Because this is all part of that. Why is this not? I think it's like this is the time where I'm supposed to stop streaming and go take a break. All right, we're gonna try to power through this for another few minutes, and then at the end of this Pomodoro, I'm done. I'm gonna go run on the treadmill and get to work, and hopefully I'll have enough energy tonight to start Ludum Dare. I think tonight all I'm gonna do is art prep. So my plan for Ludum Dare is to. What framework is this? I'm using my own custom fantasy game console called Pixel Vision 8. Which you can learn more about at pixelvision8.com. But I'm rebuilding the Lua components for all the tools. So I was trying to get all this stuff working before Ludum Dare, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. Doesn't look like I'm going to have enough time. All right. So I'm just trying to mess with like focus state stuff and fix a long-standing bug. All right, so here's where we go. So now if I roll over this, it doesn't have focus, and it's not the actual component. But if I roll over this, and I'm out, it's true and true. Okay, so what we're looking for is, we're getting very close. What we want to do is look for override focus equals false. I'm gonna like break this up a little bit. Override focus equals false if mouse down equals true. Then please work. All right, I think this is the combination we're looking for. The slider component is always looking for the mouse down. But if the mouse is down and in focus is true and the in focus UI is the same as the actual component, then we're going to override the focus. Which is what I'm looking for. It's easy to turn off the focus stuff. The problem with the slider is that if you drag outside of the slider area, it loses focus, but it should still be in focus so that you can continue to slide it when you're anywhere on the screen. So that works. Now if I come here and drag this, die! Just do this real quick. I just want to make sure I can like lose. Yeah, see, it's like not losing focus at all. Even though it's not giving me the highlight state. This is testing if the mouse rect. I'm just like trying all kinds of random little combinations right now until I find exactly what I'm looking for. Or equal nil. This state stuff's really confusing. I mean, I left trying to fix it like a year ago. What should really happen is that if it's not highlighted, so what I'm noticing, like, if it's not highlighted, it just shouldn't move. Right? Because here it's not highlighting, so something is right in focus. So I think this might actually be a lot simpler than I've been making it. Or in focus equals true. Are you sure the UI name and the name var match? Can you output them? Yeah, I was doing that earlier. I think I'm a lot closer now because I think I fixed something. Oops. Now this is not resetting itself. So wait, I need to do. Let me try this real quick. It says, let me force clearing it real quick. Nope. Damn it. All right, let's go back to the basics real. We're going to do this. If the mouse is in this area, like, so what I was trying to avoid was this whole idea of like, I'm trying to get it to where it doesn't. So, like the way that the test works is that first off, we got to make sure that there's data to test. Great, fine. Then we got to make sure that we're enabled. If this isn't enabled, then we don't do anything with it. And the next thing is that once we're enabled, we're going in and we're looking to see if the mouse is within the rect of the area of the knob. And that's fine. The problem happens when we move out of this area. And what happens is that we're still actually in focus when my mouse is down. We've just lost that focus. And that's why I had this override here. Because what we were looking to see was that if the mouse down was true and data in focus was true, we would override this test. So now if I re-enable this, what happens is now the new set of logic is that we're over, fine. When we're out of it, we're good too. Now, the last bit though, and what we need to make sure is that these sliders, so now I have another item in focus, I roll over and I get into this area, what's happening is that you notice it's no longer highlighting it, but it is still capturing it. So I need to figure out one thing. Where do I change the highlight state? If this data is in focus. Let's see if we just test that this is in focus first. Well, now it doesn't even do anything. Because the other problem is that we don't set the focus. Is enable. I think what we need to do is, unfortunately, I think this component just always needs to listen. Like it needs to be like if, all right, I'm going to try something different here. What I want to see is that if the mouse is down, then this component is always going to listen for input. The other thing we could do is before we even set the focus, let me try one other thing. Let me see if before what we're doing is we're basically overriding the set focus. I feel like if self dot right, we're going to look for if the mouse is down, great. The next thing we want to look for is that if self in focus UI equals null, if it equals nil and there's nothing else in focus, we are going to set the focus here. Then we're going to look to see if the mouse is down, everything's shifted over, which is not a good sign. Oh, there we go. UI is like the worst. My goal eventually is that when you want to add like UI into your own game, you can just use mine. Son of a... Alright, but that's fine. I already know what... Alright. Else. Return. Let me just see if now if we don't set the focus that it just throws you... I don't know what the hell's going on there. I think I just stopped drawing it. Alright, well that's a strangely enough, it's actually a pretty good sign, because now what we want to do is, here we go. Now we do and data in focus equals true. Ugh, I asked the hotel to see if they can get like if I could borrow a computer chair or something. Like my back is like killing me in this thing. Look, it works. All right, it's no longer. All right, there we go. We're getting closer. Now all I need to do is get it to where it still knows how to. All right, so now the other thing is that if when we go here to data in focus equals true and self equals false. If we're still in focus and then it's false, we're going to release the component. Perfect. All right. Perfect. All right, so what I want to do is this. Let's get rid of all this crap. I think we got it. All right, I want to see if I can do the same thing now for the slider, and that should fix the slider. All right, so we're going to do data size, great, enabled, perfect. Then we're going to do this to this, and that should fix everything else, right? So self collision to here. And the only other thing we need to do is in focus at the end here. If I fix this is like a 2-year bug that I've not been able to fix. Yay! That works. Alright, so now there's one other issue that I need to fix while I'm in the mood for this stuff. Look, these don't roll over. Alright, nothing else rolls over. The only thing that's... It's not going to be perfect because, like, the sliding area is really small here. But... why is this not... Alright, there's something else that I'm missing here. UI null rect. I wonder why the knob... Alright, so then, okay, I see what the problem is. I can drag out of this area, but now it only works inside of this area, and you know what? I think that's actually a lot better. Well, I don't know. I'm not... Yeah, the collision... So the way that I have it now is that it's only effective inside of this area. So if I drag out, it's just going to lock itself. I kind of want it to follow the mouse still. So let's see. I guess the next step would be I think that's where the override came in. In override. If in rect or already has focus and mouse down, would let you drag out. So yeah, that's what I was going to do before. I had this other thing that let me override the focus. Let me see if I can fix that on this on the sliders, then I'll bring it over to the knob. Didn't like that idea. Override focus or it's or. And or it's sort of the same thing, right? There we go. So that's that. But now it shouldn't affect this one. That was the missing. All right, that's the missing piece. So that's the override. Not and. Yeah. All right, that should fix all this. Wow. That'd be awesome if I could fix all this. Great. Okay, now I can slide this stuff wherever I want. If it gets past the border, then it's past the border, but at least you can sort of move out of here and see it. And the same thing with this. Ah, finally fixed that. After 2 years. Probably not been 2 years. It's probably been a year. A year of ignoring that bug. All right, the only thing that I needed to fix now is that when you roll over, oh, that's it. The input field changes the mouse when you roll over it, and I bet you I need to do something very similar to that. That's awesome. Wow, this is feeling like a real thing now. Okay, so I got like a minute or two. Let's see if we can get the input area. There should be a mouse. I think it's the same thing. It's like when I this override does the same thing, and we need to change all of this. Whereas if let's see if we can just use the same code. So if, whoops, where did that? All right, so what we're going to do is the same exact thing here, where we now go, I'm just trying to make sure there is anything special here, and data editing. All right, so let's do this. And in focus, and data editing, because the text field only works when you're editing it. It should only show you the I. And then here, we'll change this, and the override should be the same. And now, input fields should now not show me that caret. All right, so that's the caret. So if I dragged out of here, but I'm still down for some reason, it would still show me the caret. What's the second parameter? Set focus. What's the magic 3? Where did you see that? There was a on set focus. There used to be a notion of like each component had like a unique ID that you can give it. Like you could have like groups of components, and I started moving away from that system because it wasn't. I was trying to do like I was trying to do the collision as part of the tile map, but it was getting really complicated. So like what I would do is I set flags in the tile map, and then I just test for those, and it'd be a lot faster than testing for the mouse and the rect. So that's probably just like a leftover from that. I can't remember where I'm setting the mouse cursor because I don't think that I feel like the input field. Oh, you know what? I know why. That's because this is no longer working. I might have broken this. Let me undo this real quick and see if I broke this. Because there's a text area and a text input. Here we go. Yep, I broke that. Let's focus on text input first, and then I'll look at the text area. The input field is built on a lot of the same stuff as the input area, but the update methods are always different. What is it, 707? All right, we can do a little bit longer. I really don't want to like skip. I've been like on a good streak going to the like gym and working out, and I'd hate to like. See, the problem is like, reason I'm not healthy, although I'm not like not healthy, is that I prioritize sitting in a chair and coding over going out and input area had 3. Yeah, that's the if we go to set focus. Oh, it's the cursor. You're right. It forces that changes the cursor. So by default, all buttons get set to 2, but if you can override it for an extra cursor. So I have like a whole bunch of different cursors. Like it's in the so there's like other cursors that we can do, like the cross and the pen and the question mark and stuff. All right, so let's do input field first and see if we can get this to work similar to how we fixed the knob. That's right, this should be that should be 3, so good call. All right, so what we want to do is let's start it first by just changing this and making this a 3. So now this should only get focus when you're in here and it doesn't have focus. So right now I've gotten rid of that. I bet you I think that's enough to fix it. The only problem was I wasn't looking to see about the focus now. Ugh. I gotta look into why that's breaking. I wonder what the hell I'm doing here that's breaking that. Let's see what that error is. Visual OS input area 260. Backspace doesn't exist. I've changed the hold on, let me do I gotta look at yeah, I know, decompile. It should be like delete or something. Is tab I changed the enums to make them. They now work with. They now work with mono games enums. I don't know why I'm doing that. There's just up, down. So the input stuff won't work until all these like special keys that I look for are match. Where's return? I think it's enter. And I should probably change the mapping up here. Yeah, so, oops, I see what I did. What was I just... All right, I got to change all these up here. And then that'll give me the key command stuff back. All right, so there is delete. Well, we can do enter is 13. And this is up, down, right, left. But I don't know if they're the same numbers. Up is 38. Right is 39. Oops. 39. Down is 40. And left is 37. The arrow stuff is a little different now. We don't need arrow key. Tab is 9. Which is the same. It's funny, some of them map up the same from Unity to monogame, but some of them don't. Escape, I'll deal with later. And then backspace should be delete. Which I have a feeling is going to bite me in the ass later on. 46. All right, let's try this now and see if this key mapping works. 260. One of these isn't. Like, let's just comment that out for right now. So now I'm like fixing all kinds of little bugs I don't want to be doing. My goal is that I built the framework to, yeah, so like nothing, now none of the keys will work, but I can enter stuff. So let's try delete. We'll do this one by one and just make sure that they work. I'm going to start optimizing the Pixel Vision SDK, which is the open source part of Pixel Vision. Yeah, it doesn't like delete. Attempt to indexing nil value. If key. I'm never going to do that. Interesting. I think I have to look back into how I did this. All right, let's just comment this crap back out again. Because I may have gotten rid of the number stuff. I don't know. I gotta look through that. But that'll fix this problem. So now we can at least enter text. I just can't like do any of the arrow key stuff. But all right. So what I was trying to make sure is that when I rolled over, I'm holding and I'm out, I still have the input focus. So it's like weird. You can still do input. The reason I need to do this is because when I start doing like highlighting, I need to, if you drag out of the box, like it should scroll. So I need to know when you're out of this area. So that's sort of important later on. But what's good now is that I'm not triggering any of the other components, and these things scroll, but they're not blocking. So I fixed some pretty good bugs today. All right, I will take that as a win. I think now I have, that's disabled, but we don't have a disabled state yet. I think I have all the core components I need. Ugh. I need now to build, at least to build a settings screen. So I could knock this out. Unfortunately, it's Ludum Dare time. So I will do this screen next week, or maybe, yeah, next week I'll do it. But I can start building out all the new screens that Caspixel designed. That's right, we have the knob, we have the toggle button, we have the arrow buttons for the scale, we have the full screen, I have the input fields. And then what I just need to do is expose I have to expose something to switch you over for those graphics are so good. I know. Her redesign is so good. Pedro's stuff was good too, but it was just like I keep saying, like it was just like we didn't have a lot of time to finish it as he got pulled into Celeste. And Celeste took all of his time. But this is going to be good. I think the only thing I need to do next is just get it to where you can toggle between mouse and keyboard, which will just be like we'll do something. This should be a radio button, and then I'll have input. I'll have controller or keyboard, and then I'll show you whether the controller is set and all that other jazz. But it looks good. Hopefully this won't take me too long, and then the other stuff should be pretty straightforward. So cool. All right, I'm going to, of course, now I'm going to end the stream, and there's like a whole bunch of people watching. Are there any other like low-hanging fruit that we can take care of before I call it a day? This looks good. This looks good. Let's make the radio button. What I'd like to see, let me do a quick test here. Drop down box, no drop down boxes, screw that. I need a pop-up modal though. That I will need. Let me do this in system libs. Let me rename this, and let's make sure that we're getting all the UI components correctly. Good, okay. So all these are the new components. Perfect. The only other one is like a button with lists. None of that stuff. You can build that crap when you need it. I can only do some. Oh, this was the other bug. I don't know why this won't get disabled when the. Maybe we can fix that real quick. If I don't fix this, all the UI will break. Like, watch if I hit escape now. It'll, all the old stuff breaks because it can't find its components correctly. All right, let's see if we can fix that one little bug. And then we'll, then I'll have to go into work. I want this to be disabled when this thing starts up. toggle group, create input field. There should be like a next and back buttons. And the next and back buttons are powered by that's the volume input field, the picker input field. So what's kind of weird here is that when we change the input field, there's a callback for update picker buttons. And if value is greater than picker, I feel like what might be happening is that the this doesn't get triggered on the first time, because I think I only send values from the picker when they're from the input fields when they change, and it might already be set to 1. And I'm making that shit up. Making that up as I go along, but that's a good theory. So update picker button. Interesting that it's getting called twice. So when it boots up, it doesn't that was a bug. It shouldn't call that thing twice. So let's see if I fix that. All right, so that, at least we found that bug. Sometimes you find bugs by accident. I wish I could like trace out everything so I could see what the hell is going on a lot of the times. Oh, and I don't have multi-selections, but I do have lists somehow. I have like a scrolling class of some sort. I use it mostly for text and buffering text. But you can pass in like characters and sprites, and then it becomes sort of like a list. A lot of the UI stuff is so like minimalistic and relies on just like updating the visuals, but everything else is like internalized. I mean, like any good UI system, but this one, like half of the UI stuff is just built into the background. It's not even like part of the component skin. All right, what I wanted to see was I have a feeling that if we set this value to 0 and then I change it, it'll call that. There we go. That was the bug. Wow, I can't believe that I put these stupid bugs off forever. All right. This template is good to go. I think like the only other thing I need to do is these things, but I think I'm gonna end it here because I want to go. I'm gonna go for a run, and then excuse me, and then I got to get to work, and I'll see everyone that wants to watch later today. I guess it's like 3 o'clock my time because I'm in California, is when Ludum Dare starts, and we can do that real quick. I'm gonna quit out of this. Let's quit out of Atom. Let's quit out of all this. We don't need to save anything here. So my plan for Ludum Dare is I built a game called Reaper Boy for one of the Ludum Dares a while back, and I think I'm just going to rebuild this game. So CastPixel gave me, it's 3:25 p.m. now. What time zone are you in? I could like literally never know what time zone I'm in. So I'm always traveling. So my goal is to. I am going to probably rebuild Reaper Boy in the new version of Pixel Vision 8 with all of her art, and screw the theme. I don't really care about the theme. In the UK. Oh yeah, it's 3:25 p.m. your time. Yeah. You guys are screwed. So you're 5 hours ahead of New York. You're 8 hours ahead of me. So if it's at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock is when it starts. Yeah, but that's honestly like if I wasn't going to do this, next LD a GBA Reaper Boy. Well, this is actually it looks like Game Boy Advance, right? This is using the full color palette from the new Pixel Vision 8 color palette. That was one of the things that I had Cast Pixel work on. That was does she have it in here? It's sort of in here, but I'll pull it up real quick and then I'll go. My stomach's growling again. Maybe I will skip running today. I got the gym tomorrow. It won't be the end of the world. I'm feeling super lazy. Is that PNG corrupted? I don't have permission. Did I just change it? I want to read and write. Hook it up. There we go. All right, so this is what big part of the redesign from Cast Pixel and I did for Pixel Vision 8 is that like Pico 8's got like a really nice color palette and it's very distinct, and Pixel Vision 8 didn't have any of that. So I had her build a 16 color palette for Pixel Vision 8. So originally Pixel Vision 8 started as like it was just a sort of simulated copy of a Nintendo, and the engine runs like a Nintendo, but now and you can also change a lot of stuff. So you can make it a Nintendo, a Game Boy, a Game Gear, or a Master, any 8-bit system basically. But what we wanted to do now is add the personality. So all the graphics, look at this. I got like a great audience. I hate leaving when I have like a full set of like people watching. So this game, it looks very Game Boy Advance, but it is technically 8-bit. I think the only thing is that there's no limitation on the number of colors per sprite. I didn't tell her to add one. So my goal is for this Ludum Dare is to rebuild this game. And we'll just see how it works out. Because I think the other thing, like, out of the list of things that are missing from Pixel Vision 8, it was a personality, which I think Cast Pixel has given it, a color palette, so it has that's part of its personality, and it needs a lighthouse game, and that's going to be the lighthouse game. Her stuff, although I got to talk to her, I don't know why this is the end screen. And there was one other one she did for me. I don't know where the other one is. Does this have a timeline? Yeah, like they all move. I gotta figure out why the home screen doesn't animate. It's so good. Her stuff is so good. All right. I'm gonna go run for 20 minutes and hate myself while I do it, and then I'll be back later and we'll do Ludum Dare. It's on. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.